we'll just start then if you want to start with just like an introduction, yeah, and just like a quick like spiel of who you are and what your illness is.
So my name is Brandon Parks. Back in 2017, I was camping with a couple friends, and I wasn't feeling too well. It felt like my legs were sort of being dipped in acid, and that gravity was sort of pushing down on my shoulders. We went through a slew of tests in a bunch of different hospitals, and found out that because of elevated proteins in my spinal fluid, that I had some sort of inflammation somewhere. So they continued to look and found out that I had an autoimmune disease called Guillain-Barré syndrome, and that's sort of where my journey started.
Cool. So I wanted you to kind of discuss a little bit of how rare your situation is, both just GBS in general, as well as like your specific condition and like your recovery process, like how small of a percentage you actually fit into even within GBS.
So a lot of people with GBS do have an amazing recovery rate. They say within 6 to 8 months that 75 to 80% of people will recover. I wouldn't say without limitations, but they'll be up, they'll be walking, they can do everything that they can do. I fall under this category of sort of like the smaller, even under 10% of people, because what happened, my GBS was so severe that it ended up attacking my spinal cord area and the nerves in that area and creating a scar, and that scar is called transverse myelitis. So I ended up getting 2 different diagnoses. So my GBS ended up being so severe that it caused another autoimmune disease.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I genuinely don't know this answer. Is it time related? Like, is your symptoms and like your severity of it, is that because like you were camping and away from hospital for so long? Like if you had reacted quicker, would you have had a better chance of recovery?
100%, 100%. So basically, there was a period of probably 3 to 4 days of us going to different hospitals, trying to figure out what's going on. These hospitals, like you didn't know either. These hospitals didn't know what was going on. They figured that I was hungover or whatever was going on, go home, take a nap. And once Joseph Brandt took me in, they realized that things were a lot different, and that this wasn't going to be just your standard cold or whatever, and that this was sort of like a time situation that Joseph Brandt put me into a coma for 5 days, and because of this, like, say 3 days of trying to figure out and these 5 days in the coma, this entire time my body was essentially eating itself. So if we were able to, if I feel as if I was awake that whole time, I would have been able to tell them, I'm feeling this pain here and this is happening here, and I'm losing capability of doing certain, because it was coming up. The paralysis was coming up, and they wanted to make sure that my lungs and my heart didn't end up getting paralyzed, so they had me on life support as well. So it ended up being a pretty crazy situation.
Yeah, that is. So were they questioning then Guillain-Barré before they put you in the induced coma?
No, they weren't. They just, okay. I was manic. I was freaking out. I said, this is the 3rd hospital I've been to. My bowels are releasing. My bladder's releasing. There's no way that I'm leaving this hospital without being put in. And then I guess through time, I don't know, I guess my brain just went nuts and I went manic, and I started, throwing punches towards people I shouldn't be throwing punches to, nurses, doctors, whatever. So I think that was why they put me in the induced coma. I think the 5 days was quite aggressive. I think that it should have been a lot shorter. They just wanted to run a slew of tests, MRIs, CTs. They took a whole bunch of blood because I was camping. They thought, Lyme disease or West Nile or whatever it may be, just doing everything that they possibly could to figure out what was going on.
Yeah, it's such a problem with our healthcare system too, and like everybody is guilty of this. I feel, if you're a nurse, like not everybody, but everybody, myself included, when you see a young person come into like emerge or come into the hospital setting, you immediately think it's behavioral, you immediately think it's mental health or addiction or the 2 combined. And especially with like your behaviors, like I bet you people just thought like, oh, this is just somebody here high on drugs or weaning off drugs, something of that sort. And it's such a fucking flaw in the
Yeah.
system.
Yeah.
Like, it's so unfortunate, and it's a real thing. It's the same thing when you have like addicts come in and they're in pain. People won't give them pain meds because they're just like, oh no, you're just fiending. It's like, no, they're probably actually in a lot of pain.
So my pain is very similar to like a taser, and you can't help my pain with drugs like they take, like these opioids and stuff like that. My pain is it's so different. So I take a lot of like gabapentin or Lyrica, like these types of nerve drugs, right? So you couldn't overdose on these drugs if you tried, you know what I mean? Well, I guess you could, but you couldn't be high. You couldn't get high off these drugs if you tried, right? So when I get put into that category of people, it's very frustrating. It's so frustrating.
Yeah, I imagine too that like if you weren't in the induced coma and you could have like been speaking to them, like you would have been able to say like, these meds aren't helping me, and then immediately when you know that like if you're on fentanyl patches and it's not easing the pain, like then it's neurological, like it's nerve pain.
Yeah.
So unfortunate. Also, side note, I literally look like an Oompa Loompa because I'm so red because I get so nervous. So I'm so red and my hair is green. I literally look like an Oompa Loompa.
Yeah, you have slowly but surely getting more and more red.
Right? Oh my god. That's funny. Okay. Next question. What has been the most challenging part of your journey?
Being alone throughout this whole part. My mom passed when I was 18, and my father's never really been around. So when I was in hospital for that 7 months trying to figure everything out, it was me and these 4 walls by myself. You know, I had grandparents come see me and aunts or whatever, but they have their own lives. You know, I don't have this tight family. I don't have any brothers, sisters, or anything. I'm an only child. So even coming out of the hospital, I said, you know, by myself, here we go. What do I do? What's the next step? It ended up being that I got tossed a coin to start a new life, and I sort of took it as a positive. It took me a while. This has been 3 years, and probably the first year and a half, 2 years was a lot of crying, a lot of trying to figure out what's going on. Am I going to get any better? And they had said to me that 2 years is usually the time where nerves will stop recovering at their maximum point. They'll hit their plateau period, and I've heard my amazing stories here and there, and I'd love to fall under one of those, but I'm not going to rely on that. I'm going to continue messing with my life.
Yeah, absolutely. Good for you. Do they have any type of programs at all where they would match you with somebody who also has like a similar like disability where they could like kind of coach you through it, kind of like AA?
Yeah, I don't know if it's exactly like AA, but I remember some of the social workers there. They were really they talked to me a lot about that because they knew I was alone. And I think just because, I don't know if it's just because I think I'm a proud individual or whatever, but like I never accepted these types of programs, but they are there. I met great individuals that really did talk me through certain things that were going to happen in my life, and then be like, I just looked at them and be like, wow, you are fine. You know, like people seeing them drive trucks and getting into their trucks, leaving the hospital. I was so surprised, I want to get my license again, which is something I did, and I loved it, right? The freedom is amazing.
That's awesome. Okay, what has been a positive that you've taken from your journey?
Just that I can do this. Like I sort of bouncing off of what I was just saying, that, like there was a dark time, but now I've entered sort of like this brighter time that, I'm fine. I'm just sitting. I'm lazy. That's all it is. I try to almost sit up in a sense that don't look at what's going on below me and just look forward. I'm very blessed because I have my ability to use my hands. I see a lot of these paraplegics, tetraplegics, quadriplegics. They all have a much, much worse situation than I do, and the amount of recovery that I have, even like below the waist, I was so blessed. I've just seen people much worse off, and I can take my life and go with that.
Yeah, absolutely. So a huge misconception is that Canada is amazing for healthcare. I always say that if I ever got ill, first thing I'd do is go to the States if I had money, which I don't, but that's what I would do. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to discuss what part of your care and like the equipment you have and what's covered and what kind of is out of pocket.
Sort of, it ends up being that in Canada, every 5 years they will cover you for a new wheelchair. So I started out with my wheelchair and, you know, a couple of different things like the handrails on my bed they gave to me out of, I think it was sort of some sort of program that they gave to people, like it wasn't through the government. I think somebody donated that kind of stuff. So coming out of the hospital, like I had everything in hospital and I was good to go. And then coming out of hospital, once my benefits ran out from work after 2 years, it has just been all me. It has been all me ever since then. I was blessed to have a job that had good benefits. So coming out, I said, you know, I was getting paid a good amount of money, getting paid around $2,000 or so a month, and I was getting covered for benefits. And then after 2 years, that stopped, and I've been by myself. It was sort of, you know, sign up for PP or CPP to get more money because they've stopped giving me money. The benefits are gone, so it's like Trillium or Ontario Works, or, you know, like these types. It's not the government that's covering me for anything. It is, Brandon, you're by yourself. Brandon, if you need a new shower bench that is out of pocket, these shower benches are minimum $125 for not the greatest one.
Yeah.
Cheap, not the greatest one. There's no cover seat. There's no, you know, it's pretty cheap.
Yeah, we always joke at the hospital saying if you want to get rich, invent literally anything in healthcare.
Anything.
A little tiny thing will be like $2,000, and you're like, it's a piece of plastic.
Sure. I have a board. It's a piece of wood that couldn't be this, you know, transfer board. So those transfer boards are like $75 to $80. It is a piece of wood. You could go to the forest, find a piece of wood, smooth it out, and you'd be good to go, or anything for that matter.
Crazy. Yeah. Is there anything else that you want to share?
Not really. I think I'm really happy with the way my life's going. I think that I hope that if anybody else is in my situation that they listen to this, that they can realize that, you know, there is a better part in life, that the future is going to be better if you don't want to go through the social workers like I did, and you kind of feel a little bit more proud in a sense that, no, just listen to me, that it is going to be better. You don't have to go through that kind of stuff if you don't want to. But...
So I fibbed a little bit to you. This isn't actually for school, but I wanted to film it because I think that it is actually important for you to like share kind of a little bit about the syndrome, and about your story. But I did watch some of your stuff, and I saw that you needed new tires for your wheelchair. And so I reached out. I started with the Dimitri's family, and it was a very good response. I think I asked 21 people, and right off the bat in 3 hours, 21 people donated. And then I asked some random people that we had as mutual friends on Facebook, and anybody I saw who commented on your stuff recently. I didn't want to message people who didn't like comment. I didn't know what your relationship were with people, and I didn't want to like overstep boundaries because I didn't ask you to do this. But we raised $1,750.
What?
So we want to give you that, and then I'm going to give you a list of everybody who showed some support and sent some money.
So you lied and said that this was for school.
Yeah.
Oh my god, you shithead. Oh my god.
So I'll need your email to transfer you the funds. But yeah.
Wow.
I started off very tiny with Dimitri's, and then with like, I think it was like 3 hours, we had just under $1,000. And so I was like, okay, cool. So then I reached out to some people in Niagara that I knew, and some friends around here, and just a few people off of Facebook. So yeah, I will send you that cash if you send me your email.
You're a shithead. Thank you very much.
No, it's awesome. I always like watch your videos, and literally I'm laughing and crying while watching them. And I'm like, what a powerful thing. Like you tell your story and it's like so like hard to watch, but you're like laughing and telling jokes during it. Like,
well, it's the only thing you can do is just kind of laugh through these types of situations, right? It's
so easy though to say like, look at the bright side, or like just look at the positive aspects. It's like so easy to say, and like you actually do it, and I feel like I cannot. Like that's
You're a pretty incredible person. You know that?
No, I'm not. You are. And so I messaged the Dimitri's people, and like everybody did it. I was just like so touched. Just so touched by people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome to see.
Thank you so fucking much.
Especially during COVID, when like I think
everybody's hurting right now. Everyone's hurting right now.
Everybody needs a pick me up. It was just like incredible. But yeah.
Thank you so fucking much, man.
You're welcome.
Sarah. Oh,
No.
fuck.